Hello everyone, I'm Jade Walker and welcome to a video that I know many of you want to know about, and that is on Candida, more specifically vaginal candidiasis, also known as thrush. Now this is something that most of us women have experienced, but a lot of us don't talk about it because it involves intimate areas. But today I'm going to lift the veil on all things vaginal thrush, and we are going to talk about where it comes from, why it keeps coming back, and what we're going to do about it, most importantly. So first of all, signs and symptoms of Candida. Now I want to talk about this because some people get Candida and vaginal bacterial vaginosis confused. So Candida classically is the white discharge, particularly thick and white, and sometimes looks like ricotta cheese for some people. The itchiness, burning, especially with sex for some women, and the smell as well. It's kind of like a yeasty smell. It's a little bit more like baked goods rather than if it was like a fishy smell, which would be more bacterial vaginosis. Now, also with bacterial vaginosis, it's more of a watery, clear discharge, whereas thrush is more of that white, thick discharge. So they are two very good indicators. The other thing as well is that thrush loves estrogen. So we often see women get a peak in thrush when they are ovulating, which is around day 14 of your 28-day cycle. And then whereas bacterial vaginosis may be more closer to your period. So that's another really good sign to kind of tell. Now, some women do get both, but quite often it's more just one or the other. The other thing as well is there are different Candida species. So the most common is Candida albicans, but the second one that is also kind of common, but not as well talked about, is Candida glabrata. Now the thing is that they can be treated slightly differently, and Candida glabrata sometimes gets treated with the topical antifungals by the doctor and it's not effective, and therefore it keeps coming back. So that is a classic sign that maybe you've got glabrata. So please make sure, if you've got any symptoms, if you haven't done already, go to your GP and get a vaginal swab done so that you can see what species are in there. It's really important to know these things. And also make sure you get a printout and take it to your naturopath or someone who specializes in these areas, because we might look at things a little bit differently as well, or help you be able to make sense of it. The other thing too is your vaginal pH. So this is something a lot of women don't understand, is that the vagina is meant to be an acidic environment because we have lactobacillus species in our vagina that are acid creating bacteria, and this should inhibit Candida from overgrowing. Now, a lot of people don't realize that Candida is meant to be in harmony with our vaginal microbiome, just as it is in our gut microbiome. But it's kind of like the teenager at home, where when the parents are around, it behaves, it does what it's supposed to do. Whereas when the parents go off for a holiday and the teenager decides to invite all its other little Candida friends around and have a big party, destroy the house, and create a whole shit fuck of a storm for the parents when they get back. Not fun at all. So we need to focus on getting that pH back up to a good acidic environment. So just straight off the bat, one of the good things that we can do, and we do recommend, is using vinegars or apple cider vinegar. So diluted, of course, not straight. Please don't use it neat because that will burn like a bitch. But you can have vinegar baths. You can do sitz baths if you don't have a full bath, whereas basically you just get a big bucket of water or basin of water that you can sit in, have it really nice and warm, put a vinegar solution in there, and soak in that, because that'll help to acidify the environment and kill off that Candida. And of course we can also do vaginal irrigations as well, but please don't do this at home without direction from your practitioner, because it needs to be a certain percentage of dilution, and it needs to be done in a certain way and for a certain amount of days. But that can actually provide a lot of relief for some women and help to get rid of it as well. So what are the key drivers? Well, we have already talked about the pH, but there are some root causes. So antibiotics are a big one. So any woman who's had antibiotics will know, oh my gosh, the thrush is out of this world for some women. I know for me personally, see, I have not had antibiotics for like at least 6 years, until very recently I had to have some. And I'll tell you, it wasn't a very easy decision to make, but I had some really crazy things going on after my surgery, and we were wondering if it might be a post-surgery infection, and they really wanted to get on top of it super quick. So I thought, it's all right, I'll do it. I know how to deal with this stuff. You know, I know how to heal my gut afterwards. But my gosh, I've never experienced anything like it. The thrush was next level, and the irritation is just so uncomfortable. So antibiotics for most situations are actually not required unless it's life-threatening. Antibiotics, and you should all know this, is leading to antibiotic resistance, and we're getting superbugs. So if you can avoid using antibiotics and using, say, herbal antimicrobials, and we know that often antibiotics are incorrectly given for viruses when viruses are a virus, not a bacteria, and it's just pointless giving people with the cold or flu antibiotics. And so if you can avoid antibiotics for those kind of things, so that we can reserve your gut microbiome and therefore your vaginal microbiome as well. So the way it works is when you have antibiotics, it basically clears out empty car spaces and allows Candida to park its cars. And they're really stubborn. They just want to stay there for 3 months on a long-term holiday and not go anywhere. And so therefore Candida is just going to stick around. And even if you throw in some probiotics, if they're not the right strains, then they're still not going to budge. So we need to make sure that we're not allowing those empty car spaces to become available for Candida to move in. So that is one big one, antibiotics. The next one that a lot of women don't know is estrogen, high estrogen. So Candida feeds off estrogen, and this is why a lot of women get thrush around ovulation, which is around day 14 of a 28-day cycle. So when I'm questioning women about their symptoms, if that's happening, then I'm like, okay, maybe you've got some estrogen clearance issues that we need to work on. Or it could also be a combination of the two, where you've got high estrogen, you've also got low progesterone that's allowing the estrogen to exert itself more. So we need to increase your progesterone. And what reduces progesterone? Stress. Stress is just hands down the biggest bitch of them all, because that is the one that causes just about every condition I see in clinic. So one of the things that we can actually do is use herbal medicines to help get your progesterone up as well as reduce the stress. And one bad boy that you could use is my Healthy Hormones tea, and this has the herb called Vitex in it, which we use for increasing healthy progesterone production. So if you're someone who also gets PMS, even irregular periods, then this tea might be for you. Go check out the website, jwalker.com.au, to see more information whether it's suited to you. It is my most common, most popular tea by far. So a lot of people are getting a lot of good results with that one. The other thing, like I said, is reducing stress. So, you know, work on stress reducing activities, working on mindfulness, mindful breathing, meditation. You might even want to do some calming teas as well, such as my Calm Me tea or the Signature Blend, which is also ultra relaxing as well. So, you know, herbal medicine is just incredible for all these different things, whether it seems connected or not. It's all, you know, working on stress flows on everything else. So the other thing that stress does as well is impairs our digestion, because when we're in stress or fight or flight response, it switches off the rest and digest. Because when we're in a rested state, we have energy to digest our food, we have energy to produce digestive enzymes and hydrochloric acid, which is going to help to break down your food, and also bacteria. And even when you're taking probiotics, they actually feed off of those like bile acids and enzymes as well. And so when they are significantly lower, then your bacterial numbers lower, and therefore Candida gets to have a party again. So we need to work on that stress, because that's going to flow on to everything else. Then we have blood glucose dysregulation. Now, this is another one that a lot of people don't know, that even people with diabetes have a higher rate of Candida overgrowth, and this is because Candida loves high blood glucose levels. So you don't need to have diabetes to have blood sugar dysregulation, and you can do this either through, you can test this through a finger prick, or you can go to your doctor and get your fasting blood glucose levels tested, particularly with women with, say, PCOS as well, because that is often an insulin resistant condition as well. So we may need to use blood sugar regulating herbs with you, and one really good tea for that is the Metabolize. So this has a particular herb in here called gymnema, that has been shown in research to help to regulate your blood sugar levels. So what Gymnema does, which is really cool as well, is it actually numbs your sugar taste buds. So a really cool trick that we were taught when we went through our degree, you have a bit of Gymnema in your mouth and then you try and eat, say, chocolate, and all of a sudden it just tastes really weird. It tastes like this weird kind of salty fat in your mouth and not so much the sweetness that you'd usually get. So that's a really cool one to do, as well as true cinnamon, which is also in there. That also helps to regulate blood sugar levels as well. So you can already start to see that there are several things that could be driving your Candida. So stress, high estrogen, antibiotic usage, poor gut health, and blood sugar dysregulation. They are all huge. And there could be other gut issues going on as well that's kind of disturbed the whole microbiome, and we need to address that. So this also shows how it may only take 1 to 2 weeks to heal the Candida, or it could take a few months. Because the thing is, with hormonal conditions, it takes 100 days for your follicles to reach full maturation in the ovaries. And so anything you do within that window isn't really going to show effect until that new cycle kicks in. So sometimes women might start a hormonal protocol, and I say to them, just know that it may take 3 months before we see a good outcome. So what do we do for treatment then? So there are various different things, and no one goes home with this one Candida protocol. It's different for everyone. And this is why I love naturopathy so much, because we look at what the root cause is. It's not just one antifungal cream for you, one antifungal cream for you. It's not like that at all. So first of all, symptomatic relief. Of course, everyone wants a bit of symptomatic relief when you're feeling like shit down there. So we can do topicals, but obviously that's not the end game, but we want some relief. So one thing that we can do are pessaries, and pessaries are kind of like suppositories that you would use up the other end, but pessaries are for the vaginal canal, and they may contain a certain type of base that has something in them that's going to help to reduce inflammation, and even get rid of the infection itself. So sometimes we might use like infused calendula oil, because that's really soothing and anti-inflammatory. But one thing as well is zinc and vitamin E are really healing if you've got really inflamed tissue. And I know personally that I had to use this when I had to take those antibiotics not very long ago, and it was a game changer getting the vitamin E oil on there, because it really just helped to heal things and provide some relief. Then good old vinegar, as I was talking about before, can help, but again, you need to work with a practitioner to make sure that you get the right dilution and it's right for you, because you don't want to go in there with something that could be too irritating and cause discomfort. Then we have internals. Oh, actually one more thing, vaginally, vaginal probiotics. So this is amazing. A lot of people don't realize that, because obviously we have a vaginal microbiome, we can use vaginal probiotics as pessaries. And a little secret that I'm going to let you in on as well is very soon I'm going to be having access to this amazing probiotic brand that currently is pharmacy only, and I'm actually going to be the first naturopath in Australia to have access to them, so I'm really, really excited. So this one particular probiotic has some very key strains in it that are vaginal specific, and have been shown to help with balancing out the vaginal microbiome, even helps with fertility and helping with other women's health conditions. So I'll tell you a bit more about that soon. And you can use probiotics both internally and vaginally. So sometimes I get women to take them orally and vaginally. And you can even make up little vaginal irrigations by like breaking open the capsule, putting them up there, but it must be specific strains, because a lot of people ask me, what probiotics are good? I'm like, well, it depends what for, because different strains do different things quite significantly as well. And the vagina microbiome loves lactobacillus species. So, you've got acidophilus, reuteri, crispatus. So there are all these different species that are very specific to the vagina. Then we've got SB, and SB stands for Saccharomyces boulardii, and it's honestly probably one of the most prescribed things that I give people in clinic for a variety of things. It's kind of like a probiotic, but it's actually yeast. but it competes with Candida as a yeast. So they're like two yeasts that go head to head, and SB always wins. So it comes along, inhibits the adhesions of the Candida, gets rid of it, cleans up, and then leaves. But the other good thing is SB is really good for like SIBO, bacterial overgrowth, can even help with some parasites, helps with traveler's diarrhea, helps to heal the gut. Like, it just does so many things, good for the immune system. So that's something that I get a lot of people on, but sometimes people aren't taking enough SB, or it's not strong enough. The one that I use is a practitioner grade only, and it's double the strength of most of the ones that you'll see in clinic. So for some people who have a lot of Candida overgrowth, then we may need to use that one, and we need to use it morning and night for a good amount of time. You may get die-off symptoms, which are really uncomfortable symptoms at first when the Candida is dying off, and you get itchy and you just feel a bit inflamed and yuck, but it will pass. So I always tell people, don't worry, it will pass. And then we have herbal medicines. Herbal medicines are hands down the best thing for Candida, anything going on, you know, gut-wise. We have antifungal herbs. In fact, one herb I have here, Paudiaco, is an antifungal. We also use horopito or horopito, however you want to say it. Really good antifungal herbs that are used for Candida, as well as we might need to do some immune support, or you know, estrogen support and those kind of things as well. So I'll make you up a liquid herbal medicine that will have herbs that are tailored specifically to you that can help to get rid of these different things. And then of course, diet is huge. So as I was saying, knowing that Candida loves blood sugar, high blood sugar levels, then what does that tell us? We need to reduce the sugar in our diet. And it's not just sugar per se, it's, you know, really processed carbohydrates, lots of breads, baked goods, pasta, things that often make up a high percent of a lot of people's diets. Now, there is the Candida diet out there, and to be honest, I think it's probably a bit too extreme in some cases, and I don't think we need to go to as such extent that the Candida diet has in some situations. But the premises is still the same, that we need to reduce that sugar and increase good quality proteins and healthy fats, because that's going to help to modulate or regulate your blood sugar levels. And of course, giving your gut microbiome all the foods it loves, all those prebiotic fibers which come from all your fruits and veggies and garlic and onion, if you can handle it, lots of antioxidants, polyphenols, and a bit of herbal medicine, and you're good to go. So I hope that was useful for you guys and it helped to answer some of your questions. There are so many things that we can do to heal your thrush or your Candida, but it just takes a little bit of investigation to figure out what's driving your Candida. And then we go from there. If you've got any questions or feedback, please put it below. And if you feel like there was something else that you weren't quite sure on that I didn't answer, please let me know and I'll be happy to answer them in the comments. And if you feel like this is something that you really just want to get on top of in here, I'm happy to work with you. You can head to jadewalker.com.au, or in my Instagram there's a book link and you can book in a consult and we can go from there. So I would love to work with you. I hope that you enjoyed this. Bye for now.